Welcome to The Astrology Show with your host, Kelly Fox. Each week, Kelly will give you access to the current transits that are a valuable tool which provide astrological information to help unlock the potential each of us has through our sun sign. Understanding the current planetary influences each week can help steer us in the right direction to make better informed choices. Sometimes, events in your life may seem completely random, but there is a pattern to the order of these events, one set in motion in part by you, and in part by the planets and stars in the sky and their influence on your life here on Earth. So if you're wondering what's going to happen in your week ahead, if you're going to get that promotion, move to a new city, or fall in love, tune in to the Astrology Show for guidance. It can help you anticipate problems before they occur, give you tools to cope with changes, and help you look forward to the wonderful days ahead. Kelly Fox is a professional astrologer and internet pioneer who launched astrology.com, one of the first and most successful astrology websites. Today, her passion lies with her new site, theastrologer.com, where she brings a modern-day approach to an ancient wisdom. Please join Kelly each week to learn more about how the planets can align for you.
Hi there, and welcome to The Astrology Show. I'm your host and astrologer, Kelly Fox. And this week, I'm going to be talking to you about the much anticipated news, and that's Jupiter turning direct in Virgo. And I say that with a giant sigh of relief. Jupiter is the planet of luck and good fortune. And when any planet appears to move backwards in its orbit around the sun, the energy of that planet typically moves backwards as well. So with Jupiter appearing to be changing direction, in other words, speeding up in its orbit around the sun, the energy or the luck and good fortune of Jupiter also moves forward. So this is great news for everybody. And Jupiter is currently in Virgo, and it's been retrograde for about 4 months, so since January. So since January through now, anything in your life, and I'll go through it, of course, throughout the show, but anything in your life that might have been stalled or stopped will now move forward again. Now, Jupiter is in Virgo, and so Virgo is all about detail, and Jupiter is about the bigger picture. So it's a combination of, say, the forest and the trees coming together. Jupiter is all about going further than anyone else. So when you combine Virgo with the detail and Jupiter about going further than anyone else, perhaps that could be a recipe for fundamentalism. So that's an interesting thought, because when you look around the world and world news and current events, you could take fundamentalism. Of course, our first thoughts automatically jump to terrorism, but there's lots of other types of fundamentalism that goes on in the world, and particularly at this time. And so if we look back on the past few months since Jupiter has been retrograde, what are the fundamentalists doing, or what have they been up to? And of course, as I said, with Jupiter in Virgo, where it has been since last August, and it will continue through this August, because Jupiter typically stays in one sign for 1 year. So for this year period that Jupiter has been in Virgo, we've seen some extreme religious fervor around the world and acts of terrorism, which may have been stirred up by Jupiter in Virgo. No, it's not just that one planet in one sign. It would be a combination of factors, according to astrology. But Jupiter is also about beliefs and standards and practices And because Jupiter is excessive, on the negative or the flip side, even though it's the planet of luck and good fortune, on the flip side, it's about excess or taking things to the extreme. And of course, Jupiter, anytime you mention Jupiter to an astrologer, of course, I would have to say most astrologers would straight away think of the positives of Jupiter. Now, with Virgo, Virgo is the sign most concerned with health and sanitation. And when it comes together with Jupiter, this could be a catalyst for great improvements in public health around the world. Now, right now we've got some issues going on about gender assignment and public restrooms here in the US. And it's interesting that, as I just said, it's not just health and sanitation, but it's extremism, it's fundamentalism, it's the detail. I mean, who would have thought that there'd be issues around public bathrooms along the lines that we're having in the news right now? But as I said, with Jupiter in Virgo, it can be a catalyst for great improvements in the public health area, and also public health around the world, perhaps some new vaccines and infrastructure being provided, maybe to some of the poorest parts of the world. Jupiter has a definite spiritual tinge to his energies, and Virgo is a very down-to-earth sign. So there could be a bit of a struggle to blend the material concerns of Virgo with the ethereal aims of Jupiter. But with astrology, it's like sometimes friction is a good thing, and then we get the outcome, the positive outcome, or a relief after the struggle. Because typically Jupiter and Virgo, they don't make great partners. Jupiter is happier in other signs, the signs that it rules, which is Sagittarius and Pisces. Virgo is the opposite sign of Pisces, so Jupiter is a little bit uncomfortable when it's coupled up with Virgo. This is also a time with Jupiter in Virgo to take care of our body and mind and look for a spiritual, physical practice such as yoga. It's a really great time for incorporating anything that we're taking care of ourselves. It really is important. But it's also, as I said, Jupiter is the planet of the extreme, and it's important not to take things too far. So if you're going to be working out, be sure to stretch. It's always a balance. So also with Jupiter's transit of Virgo, if we can rein in the extremist viewpoints, we can really gain a lot from this type of energy. But sometimes with Virgo, there's a tendency to get bogged down in the details. And so sometimes it's harder to see the bigger picture or connect the dots. So it's important to really find that balance between the detail and the big picture. It's sort of like working between the two or finding the balance. Don't get too caught up with one or the other. It's always about middle ground. Now I want to take a step back and have a look at Jupiter from the beginning and this cycle that it's been in since the retrograde period. Now, it turned direct today at 5:16 a.m. Pacific time at 13 degrees Virgo. So this is great news, as I said, for everybody, but particularly for the earth signs, and the earth signs are Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. And the reason being is because Jupiter is currently in Virgo. And so compatibility or great connections of the same element. Virgo is an earth sign. And so, of course, this is great news for the other earth signs or anybody that has any planets in earth signs, particularly in the middle of the sign, because Jupiter turning direct at 13 degrees Virgo, that's around the middle of the sign. And so anybody that has planets or their sun in the middle of an earth sign, that's really great news for you. You may have found that there might have been a project or something that you've been working on since January, or something coming about. It's been put on hold or halted, or there's been some things that needed to get focused on, like the detail or the bigger picture. And so now is the time to have the project or the situation start moving forward again. So Jupiter turned retrograde on January 7th at 23 degrees Virgo. So from then through now, it has retrograded backwards 10 degrees. So that's about a third of the sign. Now, Jupiter is referred to as a planet of luck because it brings opportunities and advantages into our lives that can look like a stroke of luck to the untrained eye. But if we look more closely, we might find lessons much, much deeper than the workings of simple chance with Jupiter. Jupiter can bring us opportunities in certain areas, such as relationships and finances and so on. But this planet is also about learning and intellectual pursuits and spirituality. So what that means is that Jupiter really likes to dive into something deeply if there's a focus or a goal in mind. So this energy with Jupiter turning direct right now in Virgo, this really is about learning and studying and exams. And I know in the US we're coming toward the end of the school year. So a lot of people out there have their finals, studying for finals. It's really great news for that. So we're going to take a quick break. And after the break, I'm going to continue talking about Jupiter turning direct in Virgo.
The future of Internet radio is here. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Dr. Kevin here, and I want to invite you every Thursday, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, to join me on the Dr. Kevin Show, where we have a diversity of guests who help you step outside the box, behind the curtain, and see what a load of crap is going on in the world today, so you have more information with which to make better decisions. We'll see you there. Namaste.
Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community. Are you trying to get from point A to point B and need a little advice? Connect with the counselors at OMTimes Advisors. Whether you're looking for a life coach or a spiritual intuitive, the advisors participating at advisors.omtimes.com were carefully chosen based on their gifts, skills, and professionalism. OMTimes Advisors, connecting you with the best advisors in the business.
What if living didn't have to be so serious?
What if you could move beyond your problems with greater confidence and ease than you've ever imagined?
Throw your labels out the window and join the Irreverent Therapist for practical tips and a very different way of approaching the changes you would like to create.
Marilyn Bradford
and Pam Hodling
have empowered hundreds of people to come out of self-judgment, quit looking to experts, and begin to create the lives they desire.
Join us Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern on the Irreverent Therapist Show.
Free your mind with OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Hi there, and welcome back to the Astrology Show. I'm your host and astrologer, Kelly Fox. And this week's show, I'm talking about Jupiter. And Jupiter today turned direct in Virgo. What does that mean for you? Well, Jupiter is a planet of luck and good fortune. Virgo is about health and details, just to put it all in a nutshell. And I was just talking before the break about Jupiter turning direct would be great if you're looking to study, pass exams, looking to focus on something that's important to you. So Jupiter is about studying something in depth. So it really is handy having Jupiter in Virgo right now if you are taking any exams this month or at this time. So another thing with Jupiter is sometimes, as I said before, there's always a flip side to everything. Keeping a sense of humility or restraint may be hard when something amazing falls into your lap. And of course, why should you? I guess you might be thinking. But an example would be if you won the lottery, would you run out and start spending it, or would you find a way to invest your cash? Well, with Jupiter in Virgo, it would be let's find a way to invest instead of running out and splurging. So Jupiter does rule excessive behaviour. So take care, because it did turn direct today. So if you're the type to party now and pay later, you will have a great time until the credit card bill comes due. So just keep that in the back of your mind. I've been waiting for Jupiter to turn direct since it turned retrograde in January. And I'm cautiously optimistic because Jupiter in Virgo is all about being practical, whereas Jupiter wants to run away, run through the tulips type of thing. So there's finding the balance. And as I said before, Jupiter rules the mutable signs of Sagittarius and Pisces. So what that means is the mutable signs are Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces. So these four signs are all about flexibility. So with the energy of Jupiter in Virgo turning direct today, it's all about being flexible. We might be on one path and then we might see an opportunity or get a break, and then our path changes. So it's all about being flexible. Now, for the technical overview of Jupiter, it's gaseous. It's the giant of the solar system. It's retrograde about 1/3 of its time, and the stationary points, they're the points in time between the retrograde and the direct motion. So basically, when the planet's slowing down or speeding up, and it's about to turn retrograde or not be retrograde anymore like it is now. That occurs typically when the Sun is forming a trine to Jupiter. So what that means is that a trine is good. It's when two or more planets are 120 degrees apart. And so when the Sun forms a trine to Jupiter, it emphasises the positivity and the optimism of this aspect or of both planets. And yes, technically the Sun is not a planet, it's a star, but according to astrology, just to make life easier, because there are already so many exceptions to so many rules in astrology, it's easier to classify the Sun and Moon as planets, even though it's a star and a satellite. So what we have here is that Jupiter, during a Jupiter retrograde, which we've had for the past few months, the Sun will oppose Jupiter. So that's another interesting point, because an opposition is about something standing opposite you or standing opposed, or someone confronting, not someone, but a situation or a person standing confronting you, or you have to look at something that's being projected back at you. So that typically happens during a Jupiter retrograde period. So since Jupiter rules expansion and exaggeration, these regular retrograde periods are kind of like a self-cleaning oven. I know that's a sort of funny example, but think about it like this. With a Jupiter retrograde, and it's like a self-cleaning oven, it keeps things from getting out of hand. So the retrograde motion slows down Jupiter's tendency to make things bigger. It's sort of like an automatic braking system. So Jupiter is the planet of hope and optimism and luck and good fortune. But when it turns retrograde, things tend to go backwards. So at that time during the retrograde, it's like we're not full of ourselves. It's like we've taken a step back, taken a bite out of the humble pie. We've had to relook at something because something's been projected back at us. Now, Jupiter is very much about our belief systems. And when it's retrograde, we're more likely to follow our own path rather than be led by others. So that's good. That's good news because it's always best to be who you are. It's an excellent time to clarify within yourself where you stand on any particular issue. And it's a time to develop personal faith, self-reflection, and independent learning. And more so at this time that Jupiter has just turned direct, and this is what we would call like a stationary period, which are more potent periods than usually any other time in a planet's orbit around the sun. So a stationary period is around the time, depending on the planet, but let's just say give or take a week or so, when the planet changes direction. So they say typically that a time to, when Jupiter is retrograde, it's best to avoid long-distance travel or any legal appointments. Now, because Jupiter is retrograde for around 3.5, 4 months, it's a little bit hard sometimes to base life decisions or make life decisions, not do this, not do that, for 4 months, 3.5 months. That really is a long time, realistically. So, but if you have any control during this retrograde period of not booking or doing long distance travel, making legal appointments, try to do so. The other thing about Jupiter is the technical, continuing with that. As I said, it's a gas giant, but it has, it's been speculated, I should say, that it has a small core of rocky materials. And above that core lies the main bulk of the planet in the form of liquid metallic hydrogen. So the vaporous giant Jupiter is the largest planet in our solar system, bigger than all the other planets, moons, asteroids, and comets combined. A day on Jupiter lasts less than 10 hours. And considering its size, that's really amazing how fast it spins. Jupiter has 16 moons, which were first seen by Galileo with his telescope in early 1610, which I think's amazing. If you think back to 1610, that's a long time ago, and Galileo with his telescope saw the moons, probably not all of them, but saw at least a moon of Jupiter. Jupiter is also the brightest planet on average, although Venus does rival it for brightness. And so from our perspective here on Earth, Jupiter appears to go retrograde just a little over 30% of the year, or for roughly, 3.5 to 4 months. And so really with Jupiter, when it is retrograde, it's like we are not so expansive or excessive. So it keeps us from expanding too much. Egos can sometimes get deflated during the retrograde period. And with some people, we're probably happy about that. Jupiter takes 12 years to orbit around the sun. And when somebody has a Jupiter return, it's considered extremely fortunate. And that's when transiting Jupiter returns to the natal position of someone's Jupiter. So, as I said, Jupiter is a planet of luck and good fortune, and it's a planet of optimism. It's grand influence that propels someone forward into the future with big plans. I've heard some astrologers refer to Jupiter as Santa Claus. So basically, it's a big jolly guy that gets lots of attention and he hands out presents. If you can think about Jupiter a little bit like that, minus the white beard, I guess, that's a good way to think of Jupiter on the positive. So, as I said, Jupiter is currently in Virgo, and it's all about details versus big picture. It's toning down the excess and the extremism, although Virgo can get a bit nitpicky with details. So that could lead to any sort of perhaps religious extremism around the world, which we have seen these past few months. But Virgo will tone things down of Jupiter, and Jupiter doesn't really like being coupled with Virgo, so there's a bit of a friction or a tension there. Now, Jupiter is also connected to our ethics and our philosophies. So during this retrograde period, we could have seen a variety of moral panics, of course stoked by the media, with disapproval heaped upon all kinds of groups. And people who aren't like us, as I say in quotes, don't tend to fare well when Jupiter transits highly critical and judgmental Virgo. So it's a time with Jupiter in Virgo when we look at the differences instead of the same. I'm going to take a quick break, and after the break, I will continue with the planetary energies of this week.
Conscious media for conscious minds. OMTimes.
Live with medium Lisa Phoenix, Mediumship Messages and Musings, explores mediumship and all things metaphysical. Lisa Phoenix invites you to reach above and beyond your everyday experiences, to explore new dimensions in the spirit world. She will do live readings to connect callers to their loved ones in spirit, shares engaging stories and teachings from her own personal experience, and will have intriguing conversations with other mediums, spiritual teachers, and healers to help you understand the metaphysical world so you can connect to these forces in your day-to-day life. Join your host on this magical and metaphysical journey into the world of spirit every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time.
Being a radio host on IOM-FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network. What if business could be fun? What if business is the adventure of living? What are you choosing? Where do you do business that makes it easier, more fun, or more joyful for you? We'd love to see where you do business. Connect with us on Instagram at Joy of Business or Twitter at Joy of Business, and share your pictures with hashtags BusinessDoneWhere and Joy of Business. Let's change the world with business.
The truth is, you can't change the world if you're broke. I know, I've tried. Isn't it time you turned your life's calling into a profitable, freedom-based business? I'm Michelle Barr. Join me every Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern for Sacred Success.
The cutting edge of conscious radio. OMTimes Radio. IOM-FM.
Hi there, and welcome back to the Astrology Show. I'm your host and astrologer, Kelly Fox. And on today's show, I'm talking about Jupiter turning direct in Virgo, something that many of us have been waiting for months, and today has arrived. If you're an Earth sign, Taurus, Virgo, or Capricorn, this is great news for you. Go and celebrate. Not to excess, though, because Jupiter can also be about excess. So what I want to get to before I move on to the other astrological influences this week is how is Jupiter turning direct in Virgo affecting your sign? So I just want to whiz through really quick the areas of your life this influence may bring your attention to. So if you're an Aries, this is about health, diet and fitness, daily routine, employees, pets and being of service. If you're a Taurus, Jupiter turning direct in Virgo is about romance, courtship, entertainment, amusements, pleasure, creativity and children. If you're a Gemini, it's about home, family, parents and ancestors. If you're a Cancer, Jupiter turning direct in Virgo will highlight your intellect, thoughts, learning, communication, short trips, siblings and neighbours. If you're a Leo, spending and saving money, possessions and attitudes towards money in general. If you're a Virgo with Jupiter turning direct in your sign, this is about yourself and appearance and individuality. If you're a Libra, the subconscious, seclusion, the intangible, intuition and institutions. Institutions meaning hospitals, jails, any sort of large type of place where not many of us really want to go. And of course, karma. If you're a Scorpio, how does Jupiter in Virgo turning direct today affect you? Friends and acquaintances, groups, clubs, associations, hopes and wishes, and your social networks. If you're a Sagittarius, career, status, achievement, prestige, and authority. If you're a Capricorn, Jupiter turning direct in Virgo for you is about publishing, higher education, legalities, overseas, in-laws, religion, philosophy. If you're an Aquarian, shared resources, taxes, inheritance, insurance, recycling, sex and regeneration. And finally, if you're a Pisces, Jupiter turning direct in Virgo will be touching on your marriage, business partnerships, agreements, and rivals. So also this week, we have other astrological influences, not as big as Jupiter turning direct in Virgo, but we have some other aspects here. Today, Venus formed a sextile to Neptune. So no one is going to feel particularly disciplined today, so we can't be too hard on ourselves. We might feel passive and receptive rather than active and assertive. It's a very dreamy type of influence, quite romantic. So instead of working, all forms of creative expression are highlighted. It's like art, music, nature, and of course romance. We need soft lights and quiet music, nothing too loud, rude, or jarring. Many of us might be too easily influenced now, enchanted by images and distracted by glamour. Fantasies are far more compelling than reality. So it's all too tempting to live in that ideal dream world than deal with the everyday, mundane details of our lives. For those of us in relationships, we feel tender and affectionate toward our partners. These emotions are returned sweetly. Anyone who's single might find themselves imagining the perfect lover and perhaps even seeking that person out. But don't run off to Vegas till next week when reality has replaced the delicious dream we're living in now. That's why I sort of chuckled, was thinking, wow, this is not such a bad place to be at this time. Also today, the Sun conjuncts Mercury. So mental activities of all sorts are highly favoured now because we're able to express ourselves clearly and authentically. And for the most part, we're in a clear state of mind now, good listeners too, although we may be overly rational and not emotional enough in our perceptions. This is an excellent time for writing of all sorts. Journaling, articles, stories, fiction, non-fiction, books, blogs, letters and correspondences. Take this opportunity to read, study, do research and delve into the most interesting areas. Not only will we be able to learn, we will be able to teach as well. There's a playful energy in the air, so games of all sorts, particularly word games and puzzles, are more fun than usual. So reach out, network, meet people and form relationships. But don't try to pin anyone down at this time. They could change their mind at any moment. And these influences, as I talk about them, I might say that the last couple that I just talked about were today. But really, it's not only for today that the influence will take effect. It's a few days before and a few days after. So it all sort of merges, and I'm just breaking down the aspects per day as they happen. But really, you might be feeling this energy a few days ago or maybe in a couple of days' time. Tomorrow, Tuesday, Venus forms a trine to Jupiter. This is one of the most auspicious aspects out there going around. Venus, planet of love, Jupiter, planet of luck and good fortune, and a trine is a good thing. It's a good aspect. It's when two or more planets are about 120 degrees apart, and Venus trining Jupiter is very good, particularly as Jupiter just turned direct today. So it's sort of like, you know how sometimes when you make a deal and both parties are perfectly satisfied, that is Venus trine Jupiter. So exchanges happen really easily, particularly around money and relationships. You know, for example, you might go to a flea market or a garage sale and make an exchange of services. Both the buyer and the seller will feel as if they got the best end of the bargain. And our propensity now is to follow the path of least resistance. How good does that sound? So any sort of mediation and negotiations go really well with this type of influence. But just be careful that you're not paying too much. It's a trine, you know, the Venus trine Jupiter, it doesn't mean it's a challenge. It means it's an easy flow. But sometimes it could be a little bit of excess because Jupiter's involved. People are feeling more generous than normal, and it's a good idea to donate to a local art museum or ballet company because Venus is all about beauty and the arts, rather than spending something on self-indulgence. It might be good to be charitable at this time. And also spiritual idealism and increased faith can also bring us to a holy place this time. Practice reverence. Because of the involvement of Jupiter being one of the spiritual planets, reverence is really good under this Venus trine Jupiter influence because it's not all about me, me, me. This influence also brings out our affectionate nature. So romance is definitely favoured. Anytime I see Venus trine Jupiter, straight away it's always great with romance, great with money, and also being able to share ourselves. On Thursday, Mercury trines Pluto. It's a very good time for participating in public speaking engagements, giving presentations, or teaching complex lessons. Our minds are sharpened and our organisation flawless. Our intelligence peaks under this mental transit. We speak with authority, inspiration, and conviction at this time, so others are easily swayed to our point of view. We have a way with words that is lacking at other times. One thing to watch for, though, is obsessive or circular thinking. We've got the mental discipline to move beyond it, and we should. And also, a lot of us can see what no one else sees right now. And this is more so for the earth signs because Mercury and Pluto are in the earth signs. So the earth signs are Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn. So this is a great influence to connect the dots and really see beyond what everyone else is seeing. We have mental discipline at this time. It's an excellent time to read a self-help book or consult with a therapist as well, because we aren't afraid to look inward. On Friday, Mercury conjuncts Venus, so our minds and hearts merge for several days around this transit. The mood's romantic. We can be much more articulate in expressing our emotions than normal. Creative communication is also highlighted. Love letters, cards, phone calls, emails, poems, music, art, you name it. It will be effective. So if there's anything that you want to say to somebody this week, particularly the end of the week, the weekend, it's a great time to say it, to open your heart, to let someone know how you really feel. And it's an excellent time to develop any type of relationship, not just a romantic one. People are more flexible than usual, so negotiations go really well. Contracts are favourable, except Mercury is retrograde and it's best to err on the side of caution. Typically, though, if Mercury wasn't retrograde, it'd be a great time to sign a contract when Mercury and Venus align really well like they are now. It's like a win-win situation. We're more diplomatic than combative, and rules that govern any sort of social interactions seem to make sense now as well. People conduct themselves with courtesy and decorum. We're polite, well-mannered, cooperative, and it's a real shame we can't always be this way. Also on Friday, Venus trines Pluto. Wow, what a great day. What a great weekend we're going to have. And like the Pied Piper, we could entice the snakes from our town and lead them all away. After the break, I will continue and go through the weekly horoscopes.
A conscious lifestyle for a mindful life. OMTimes Radio. IOM-FM.
Eros Evolution is where sexuality and spirituality meets. Join me, clinical sexologist Martha Tara Lee, on Eros Evolution on Thursdays, 4 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio.
Host your show on IOM-FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM-FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community. The number one reason girls drop out of school in sub-Saharan Africa is lack of access to feminine hygiene products. The Pads for Schoolgirls Project, an outreach of Humanity Healing International, is changing this paradigm by setting up sewing programs at schools, teaching girls a vocational skill, while producing the reusable pads that help keep them attending classes. The girls pay it forward by making and giving pad kits to other girls in need. To learn more, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
Are you wondering what is really going on behind the news? Check it out. Join your hosts Cielito Pascual and Diana Gold Holland on Share on the Air Radio for thought-provoking views behind the news, Sundays at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio. You can also find us on shareontheairradio.org. This may be the message of hope you've been waiting for. Check it out.
Your conscious lifestyle on steroids. OMTimes Radio. IOM-FM.
Hi there, welcome back to the Astrology Show. I'm your host and astrologer, Kelly Fox. And I'm talking about this week according to the stars. And as I was saying before the break, final aspect of the week or influence is an excellent one. And I was just having a look during the break and seeing how that is affecting me. And I'm definitely going to be making some good plans this weekend. So Venus forming a trine to Pluto wraps up the week. Venus, planet of love. Pluto, planet of intensity. A trine is a good thing, both in earth signs. So if you're an earth sign, Taurus, Virgo, or Capricorn, or you have any earth planets, this is good news for you. Basically, it's good news for everybody, but you more so. And Venus forming a trine to Pluto, this is all about, let's say, exuding confidence and charisma. Maybe a little bit self-possessed, but in a good way, if that makes any sense at all. And it seems like that some people might find it hard to resist our advances, even our sales pitches. And the funny thing is, just about everyone is feeling this persuasive under this influence. It's sizzling and seductive. Nothing is fluffy. It's intense. Venus forming a trine to Pluto. It makes me sort of shiver when I think about it. In a good way, of course. This is all good. What we're looking for with Venus forming a trine to Pluto is depth and intensity. We want the dirt, warts and all. It strikes a chord deep within us. There's a psychological perception that we're keen to grasp others' motivations, and our capacity for love and passion are greatly increased with this influence. Money, the sense of money and finances is strong now as well, enabling us to zero right in on the best financial investments and protect our existing resources. I cannot wait for this weekend. So be sure to make plans. Everybody make plans for this weekend. Capture the Jupiter turning direct. Venus is actually forming some really good aspects this week. It's, as I said, it's forming a sextile to Neptune. It's a trine to Jupiter. And, of course, this trine to Pluto. And with Mercury forming the conjunction to Venus and the trine to Pluto as well this week, it's a really good week to let someone know how you feel. In a good way, of course. They're all trines and sextiles, which are positive connections or positive aspects. It's like a time to wear your heart on your sleeve, but I'm making it sound superficial. It's not. It's looking for a very, very deep, intimate connection. So that's the vibe of the week. Jupiter turning direct could be about excess. Doesn't sound so bad to me, that sort of excess. Now, for your weekly horoscope. Aries, if you're an Aries, yes, it is possible to have more than 24 hours in a day. At least you'll make it feel that way. That's, I guess, because Jupiter turning direct makes everything excessive. You're probably feeling incredibly organised and capable, and leaving lesser mortals in your wake this week as you charge ahead. And knowing you, Aries, that's sort of typical anyway. Aries does like to charge ahead. That's why you're the first sign of the zodiac. Taurus, if you're single, don't necessarily expect to stay that way this week. As I just said, all those great Venus, Jupiter, Pluto connections. Mercury and Venus. Venus is your ruling planet. Join forces in your sign to make you great company. And Jupiter clears the way for some serious flirting. So enjoy and make plans for this week and weekend. If you're a Gemini, are you looking to move? There's excellent property news to be had this week, and perhaps a surprise announcement from within the family as well. Exciting times lie ahead, and you feel you have a lot to look forward to. If you're a Cancer, high energy vibes leave you rushed off your feet this week, but loving it. It's better than being completely bored. At work or in a cause close to your heart, events are gathering speed. Make sure you get plenty of sleep so that you can stay alert and on form and make the most of the opportunities that are coming your way. If you're Leo the Lion, do you have a hobby or an underused skill which could be increasing your income? This is an excellent week to diversify your talents and to find creative ways to increase the money coming in. This is a great week to utilize any sort of finances or increase or expand finances. With Mercury forming a trine to Pluto, this is all about thinking deep and coming up with an answer. If you're a Virgo, learning to love yourself isn't always easy, but this week you're making great progress with your self-confidence. Jupiter turning direct in your sign is all about you. You will be in the spotlight. It helps that others clearly value your skills and abilities and are increasingly turning to you for help. And as I just said, the spotlight is on you this week at this time. If you're a Libra, investigate the mysterious, the unknown, and the unknowable. This week's spiritual vibe underlines that there's so much more to life than we realize. So follow your instincts if you'd like to learn more. This is a time, Libra, to trust your intuition. This is a time when large organizations or institutions will be on your agenda. This is a time to really trust your gut. This is a time to look at the bigger picture, the higher picture, the purpose of life, why are we here? This will be a time for you to really think through those things. If you're a Scorpio, Mercury and Venus join forces to reinforce your romantic life. This is a time to let somebody know how you feel. Your words will be very poetic. It's a great time for making a serious commitment to your lover. Come out of your social shell too and seek some new friendships. Others will like what they hear. Others will like what you have to say. You can get others to do as you choose or wish at this time. If you're a Sagittarius, recognition at work is long overdue, but this week it finally arrives. Jupiter is your ruling planet, and because it's just moved forward again, things move forward for you as well. Now you face a choice as different directions are opening up to you. Where do you want to be in 10 years' time, and how can you get there? If you're a Capricorn, it's time to shake off old ingrained prejudice and outdated points of view. Learn more about controversial issues and open your mind this week. There's no shame in admitting that you may have been wrong. If you're an Aquarian, something is hidden and you'll go to almost any lengths to uncover it. Be careful though. Once you know, you can't unknow. Be sure you're ready to hear that secret you're chasing. And sometimes what I say is, be careful what you wish for. If you're a Pisces, a struggling relationship gets a real boost this week as you remember why you fell in love in the first place. And Pisces, you're such a romantic at heart. In a stable and happy partnership, your love just gets deeper and stronger. And what's not to like about that, Pisces? You are such a romantic. You are someone who typically wears your heart on your sleeve. So this is music to your ears. It's all about the romance. You're also a very intuitive sign and a water sign. So this week, the news of the week, the astro news of the week, Jupiter turned direct in Virgo. And I know I've been harping on that for the whole show, but it really is good news and something that I have been personally waiting for since January. And I can't believe it's already here. So Jupiter turning direct in Virgo is all about the big picture and the details. It's about trying not to be too extreme or fundamental in our views. And it's more about what has been put on hold since January. Around that time, January 7th, early January, can now move forward again. It's a pivotal time, particularly for the earth signs, Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. So, on that note, enjoy your week, enjoy Jupiter turning direct, and I look forward to next week's show. Have a great week.